Hello, welcome to another office hour session. Hope you guys can hear me all okay on all the different platforms. We should be live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube. Firstly, I want to take a moment to wish you all a happy new year. Hope you all had a great festive period. This is our first session of the year. Last session that we had, we looked at Zero. We focused on the integration revolving that and how it works in terms of our system, how it can link up and how it can go through in terms of your payments, invoices, and how you can manage those. Today, we wanted to look at the technical side, focusing more on the parts management for your technicians, how you can manage the stock itself, how you can deal with it in terms of packages that you can build up for your customers, and then how that integrates with the likes of Napa and Haynes Pro. To get started, my screen should be visible here. What I want to start off first and foremost is the actual stock side. We haven't really touched upon this in much detail previously. We've done it briefly, but we haven't gone through as much as we like to today. And the stock itself is really straightforward. Now, every workshop's quite different in terms of where they manage stock. A lot of you may decide to do it as ad hoc, where you might buy it in for a specific job and you might not need to use that part again. Others might want to do it where you can track that stock. You can view all the movements and you can make sure you're setting a reorder as and when you need to. As such, what we've done with our stock, let me just full screen this so I can see it a bit clearer. We've got these statuses, as you can see here, and you can also filter between what is already in stock and what you need to restock. This is based on what is out of stock and what is starting to run now, as you can see by the stock level here. The stock list itself, you have some that will have no stock whatsoever. Those are mainly your ad hoc stock. That is more where if you're ordering a part for a specific job, like I mentioned before, and you don't really care about tracking the stock level or seeing when it is coming out of stock, this is how you would manage that. And you can capture various bits of information on that stock itself. Now, when I'm referring to stock, I'm not just referring to the parts themselves. It can also be related to your labor, where if you want to set preset labor charges depending on the kind of job that you're doing, say, for example, an MOT class 4, that may be a bespoke price and you don't want to keep changing it every time, but it automatically pastes that pricing in. This is how you'd also set that up as well. Now, as an example, if I were to go into my oil filter here, you can see there are a few different fields here. You got the general description and a reference. This can be a reference from your actual supplier themselves, or it can be your own internal reference, depending on how you want to manage it. You can have an actual stock type, which is typically labor or parts. And then you can also have additional tags as well to help you filter this down. You can have just general information for notes, whether that's internal notes or just general references that you want to be aware of, and the total price. And then you've also got advanced options as well. So things like an actual category, say for example, you may do with batteries, filters, so on and so forth, and also subcategories to help detail that a little bit more. The actual stock level itself, again, leave that as blank if you don't care for managing that. The actual worth of the stock for yourself, based on how many you've got in stock, the cost price, the VAT that's applied, and things like that. You can also manage your supplier here. So if you have multiple suppliers, for example, we'll be showing you Napa in a little minute, you can manage which supplier it is because there may be a time when you have 3 different suppliers all with different cost prices and allows you to factor that in as well for your reporting. From that as well, you can start building the packages that are referenced. Now, packages, they are fully customizable, so you can have it be parts and labor. So for example, if you do a regular service, let's say, for example, on the Volkswagen, if you specialize in that, to make it easier, instead of having to create each individual stock item or every individual line for the labor, it just pre-populates all for you, which you can then amend as you need to. So as an example, I've got a major service here. If I edit this, I've got various different parts that are related to that and the work that's involved. It just means that I don't have to go ahead and add each individual line. I can click on my package and populate it automatically. I can also add additional items to this if it's been changed, and these packages are pretty easily customizable. That can be used for just labor as well. So a lot of people may want to do like a service kit. You want to do a promotion, for example, for a Christmas period, try and get in a lower rate, for example, and allows you to create that as well, as you'd expect. The purchase catalog at the moment is specifically for Napa, so I can mark if a part has been received, but I'll show you that in a little bit more detail as we touch upon the job sheets itself. If you give me 1 second now, what I will do is I will go onto my actual job sheet screen. Now, I won't spend a lot of time highlighting the job sheets themselves because we've gone through this on a previous office hours. This is mainly to focus on the actual integrations themselves and how that would work. So if I create a new job sheet here, for example, we'll just use a generic reference that we've got here for a vehicle. Just add that in. Job sheet is then created. I can then look at it on a TCAD system or a list view, similar to what I was showing you guys before. If I were to open this up, I can then start populating it as you'd expect. Now, immediately on the job sheet itself, if you know the parts that are required, you can go to Parts Catalog. This takes you directly to Napa. Then you can start looking for the parts you need. You can search for quite a few different references here. If you're already familiar with Napa, if you've got your own account, it would be very, very similar to what you used to. The only difference is how it integrates within our system. So as an example, if I'm looking for a specific part, let's say I'm looking for a battery, I can click on the batteries here, see whatever is relevant for that specific vehicle. I can see how quickly it's delivered, and you can highlight this to see when it would be delivered in terms of the route itself. So I can see we can get these parts pretty much immediately. It's delivered on the next route. I can also view the part itself to see a bit more information should I wish to. So you get the image here, as you can see, a breakdown of the voltage, the battery capacity, all the key features that are relevant for that part, as you'd expect from Napa. Things to do with the working hours as well, if you want to be a log of that. All the documents that are referenced, any compatible vehicles, and various bits of information down below as well. And all I would need to do is add this part to cart, and then I would just add the parts to my job sheet by clicking this button here. And that would pull it straight through for me. If it is a case of it's a completely new part, it will give you the option to add that part to stock. Or as another option, you can click on this part here. And if you've already got a generic part referenced, like an oil filter, for example, or in this case, a battery, you can select that battery and it will link it to it under the supplier of Napa. In my case, I'm just going to add it as a new part itself and just add that to stock. And that just adds it as a stock item, but it would be allocated to this invoice. It doesn't add the quantity on immediately because it's currently in basket. Once you purchase a part, it would then complete the movement for you, where it would understand that you've now ordered the part, you've received it, it's been purchased, and now it's allocated to that job sheet. Aside from that, I can then go back into my parts catalog if I need to, if I'm aware that I actually need a different part, and I can manage that accordingly. Relatively straightforward, as I've shown you before, but then you can also view any additional information as well. If it's a case of you have gone off to the vehicle for whatever reason, you can also click on here to view all the recent searches. So I can then load up the actual vehicle that I've been looking up, and I can go back through it again should I wish to. You can also copy these things to your clipboard, which can then be used within our system itself or on the search bar if you'd prefer. And you can view a bit more information regarding the vehicle down below. This is also applicable within the actual VRM lookup within our system that I've talked about before, but it's also available in this system just to make it easier. So it's all within reach. Give me 1 second. I'll clear that off. At that point, you can just start building up your job sheet itself. So with any labor or the packages that I mentioned. If you're not sure what the package or the part is called, if you're not using Napa, because we appreciate you might be looking at different suppliers, on your actual parts list, I can select this here, and there's a little folder icon. If you click on that, you can look at your entire parts list, and you can search for, let's say, an oil filter. These are the three oil filters that I've got. I can then just add it in. It would come through. This is displaying on the basis of I'm tracking my stock levels. If it's a case of you're not managing it, you wouldn't see this whatsoever. It would just allow you to add it straight on. And if you don't want to add it as a part, that's perfectly fine as well. I can just say this is an oil filter, and I can just manually type it should I wish to. So you still have the flexibility that you'd expect, but you don't have to create every individual item should you not want to. We recommend it. The more information you have in the system, the more you can get out of it, but it's how you want to configure your system. But in this case, I can add this in here, and then I can also add a package as well. And again, those packages are based on what you've created in your stock file itself. So if I'm looking for the major service that I referenced earlier, I can search for it, add it straight in, and everything related to that major service would populate. And it would be assigned that header that you've linked, that you've called for the package. The other integration is obviously Haynes Pro. Now, Haynes Pro is pretty popular, it's pretty common. A lot of people are already familiar with how it works, but the integration with our system is something that we're really, really proud of. What I mean by that is in the document itself, if I go straight into Haynes Pro, it'll pull through the registration here. You can also search by VIN if you wish to, and you can also change if you're dealing with it from an Irish point of view with a different registration. But I can look this up, and all the relevant information is available directly within our system. From there, if it's a case of you're looking to make a quote to a customer from an estimate, for example, I can look up a repair time for, let's say, work on some brake pads. I can have a look at what work is involved. I can build up a list of the operations I need to carry out, confirm any follow-up items that I need to do, and I can add those straight to my document by clicking this button. That would pull through to my job sheet here, which you can see down below, and then I can amend it should it take me longer. Now, Haynes Pro is meant to be a guideline. It may not be wholly representative of your own business, and that's perfectly fine. In that case, I can click on the three dots and I can just amend it. So I can say it's actually taken me half an hour instead, as an example. I can click save, that adds it straight through. And then if I want anything else, I can go back into Haynes Pro, confirm it's still correct, and I can go through all these processes. Now, Haynes Pro itself, all the information you get should be within our system. So even if you're looking at for technical data, let's say, for example, wiring diagrams, I can go into the wiring diagrams option here. I can have a look at left-hand drive, for example, here. I can look at all the components that are listed, and you get a diagram here, which you can zoom in and move around. So I can check all the information that I need, and I can move it about as you'd expect. You also get the option of all the procedures. So if you're not 100% sure of the job that you're carrying out, I can click on procedures. And I can go into like a removal of a clutch or an installation, for example, and it gives me a full step-by-step procedure on what I need to do, along with diagrams as well. Further to that, you've also got the likes of your drawings. So if you need to look at things like gearbox mounts, it gives you all the information here, your engine locations to find out where everything is, and more. Another thing you can do as well, which is probably more popular, is the service schedules. They work very similar to repair times. The only difference is with a service schedule, there's a lot of different things that you have to check. To make sure it's more concise for the customer, what would happen is if I look at the dealer schedule here, you have the option of printing this out and using it as an actual check sheet for your technicians. They can go down and just tick it all off and make sure they're happy with it. But when you add it to the actual job sheet, it will come through as a single line to make sure that when you convert it to an invoice, the customer's getting a very, very concise report of what's been done, rather than 3 pages worth of all the individual checks that you've done, because the customer doesn't need to see that. Aside from that, you've got the general notes as well. I've touched upon these before, but again, just to confirm, these notes are configurable by yourselves. You can choose the note types yourself, so you can have things like your diagnostic codes, your comments and advisories, things like that, and you can create these note types to do whatever you want. You can set them as a priority. You can require acknowledgement, where if you go into customer record, it will pop up, and you can also have them display on the invoice and the worksheet if you wish to. Once you're happy with that, all you need to do is just convert it to an invoice, and that's essentially the end of the journey there. So in terms of the integrations, it's incredibly quick, really straightforward. I don't think I need to go into too much detail regarding that, but if you guys do have any questions, feel free to let me know. This is supposed to be an interactive session, so if you guys do want to know a bit more or want to see things in a bit more detail, please do let me know. What I will say though, while we wait for any questions, that if they do happen to come in, this is the same in every single document. So while I've done this on a job sheet, for example, you'll notice Haynes Pro is still an option here. I can also go onto an estimate, for example. So if I view this estimate here, you've also got the option of the parts catalog here. You've also got the Haynes Pro here. We try to make sure all the documents work the same, so you don't have to do it on a job sheet. You can do it on an estimate if you want to send out a quick quote to the customer, or if you just want to get an idea of what pricing is for parts in general, you can view it on any document you want. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, which is perfectly fine. Just general questions that we do typically get asked with this. Obviously, cloud is something we do have ready. What I would suggest doing is if you want a bit more of a deep dive regarding the cloud product in itself, we can look to arrange one-on-one demos, which is done via Microsoft Teams meeting. That can be done with myself and my colleague Adil. Reach out via email or call if you wish to get those booked in, and we're happy to spend a bit more time going through it based on what you specifically need or any questions that you have that you may not be comfortable sharing on an online platform. Again, with these office hours, we are doing this on a 2-weekly session. So we'll be doing another one on the 22nd of this month. And we plan on doing these going forward just to make sure that if you guys do have any questions, you do have a forum where you can reach out and speak to us along with other customers, and your feedback will be heard. With that being said, if there are any additional questions after this session, just drop us a message, drop us an email, or give us a call. We're always on hand to try and help and assist wherever we can. But that will be it for this session. Thank you.